Welcome to the Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life with Vickie Washburn. Vickie and her guests will share their journey of the golden years and how they're creating a vibrant life. Topics will include family, fun, life, love, travel, and everything Boomer. You too can have the best of your vibrant life now. We are broadcasting from Global Voice Radio every week, and now here's your host, Vickie Washburn.
Well, hello. I'm Denise Thompson, CEO and founder of Global Voice Radio. I'm talking with Vickie Washburn, creator of My Life Redesigned. Vickie is a host with Global Voice Radio, and her show, A Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life, will air on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. So Vickie, I'm so excited to talk to you today about you, about your show, and about what you are going to be providing to your audience and your listeners.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm very excited as well. And it's good to see you again.
I know. You know, one of the things that I love about our hosts is that some of you I've already known, right? And so, but through this process, I get to know you even better, and I'm meeting like-minded people. So I am just so excited for what we are able to do together to share information and to change lives. So I'm so glad that you're one of the hosts with us. So before we talk about your show, I want to share just a little bit about you. And one of the things I want to say first is I am so blessed that I met you over a year ago, and that we have been able to connect and share our lives with one another. And I think that you have so much to bring to a radio show, to individuals through the work that you do. And so I just really appreciate that God, Spirit, Universe brought us together. And it's always interesting how that works, right?
It is.
So a little bit about you, so our audience gets a flavor of who you are, some of your history, and what you are bringing to the show to help them have a vibrant life. So you are a teacher, a healer, a coach, and you've been a student of healing modality, spirituality, and the root causes of the struggles that we all face for the past 30 years. So you have a lot of experience that you are going to be able to share with your audience and listeners. You know, one of the things that I know about you is that one of the most important aspects of your life is your family. And you have definitely been blessed with having a large family. You have 4 children, 10 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren.
8 great-grandchildren, 7 step-grandchildren.
Okay, so even more in your family to love and to share things with. So 10 grandchildren, 7 step-grandchildren, 8 grandchildren, and at the time we're talking today, you have another great-grandchild on the way in December?
Yes.
So there will be even more, and I know that you are so supportive of them, and they are supportive of you.
Yes.
Great example of what we can do, but it takes time and effort when you have a large family. And that's one of the things I imagine that you're going to talk about on your show, that as we get older, right, as we grow up as an adult, we help our children to grow up as adults, and that we have a responsibility to do that, whether it is easy or not.
Yes, and I think, you know, part of what I want to address and part of what I have experienced is that as I have approached this age of 60, that there's a lot of things that my mother and my grandmother did not share with me about becoming a mature woman, not just emotionally, but physically. You know, there's just a lot of things that begin to happen that nobody really has explained to us. And it has kind of been almost like it's taboo I don't know. Maybe it's because they didn't understand it either. I think menopause and a lot of the things that we each deal with at this age are just in the last 10 or 15 years getting the limelight that it deserves. Mm-hmm. And the things that we can do to improve our health and improve our daily life by addressing menopause and andropause for men are just amazing. And they're simple little things that we can do that just keep us from being, miserable, basically.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your personal journey in regards to spiritual and emotional health, because that's been very important to you. But how did that all start for you?
Well, on the spiritual side, I was blessed with a grandmother who took me to church from the youngest age. I do not ever remember not being involved in church. And I know to a lot of people, church doesn't necessarily lead to spirituality or having a strong faith, but for me it did. And part of that, I think, is because I was, that was modeled for me by my grandmother, who had a very strong faith and who lived it every day and who loved us in a way that we just knew that we were safe and that we were loved. And my parents really struggled, and they both dealt with mental health issues. And so it kind of left my sisters and I stranded. And if it had not been for that strong faith, and if it had not been for my grandmother and the rock that she always was for us, I just don't know what would have happened to us, really. We were very fortunate to have been raised in a very small Kansas town. And I say this all the time, that if we had lived in a metropolitan area such as Denver or Houston or Dallas or someplace like that, there's just no telling what kind of life we would have gotten into. It's really kind of scary to me. And so I feel very blessed to have been given that foundation. And it kind of set me on a path as a young woman to discover what my relationship with my God and with Christ was. And so I haven't always adhered to the the dogma of religion, but I feel that I have a very strong faith in God and a very strong belief in Christ, and I believe that they are active in my life every single day. And I have tried to impart this on my children, and we may not be the most active people in church, and we're probably not the ones that you think of if you want to go to find somebody within the church, but I feel I have mentored a lot of people in their faith because of my strong faith. And I started that with my own children and my own grandchildren.
Well, I know through some of the conversations that you and I have had in the past that faith, spirituality is very important to you and your family, and that it has been a pillar for you in certain parts of your life. So can you talk about one or two of your experiences where you really had to look inward, that you really had to look at your spirituality and your faith to get you through?
Well, probably the most recent time, although there have been many, was when my marriage began to unravel. And I was very, very much in love with my husband. And I had prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed for restoration, for healing, for guidance, for just everything I could think of. And had gone to Christian counseling, all these things. And it just was not going to be. It just was not going to be. And that just broke my heart, broke my heart like I have never had my heart broken. And it took a while. I, like many others, I sat and wallered in it for a little while. And then something I read somewhere, which lines up with our living gratitude that you and I are both involved with, was to start finding things that I could be grateful for. And so I set on a mission every day to just thank God for something every day that I was grateful for. And so every morning I would start out with prayer, and I would start with praise. And my sister had told me years ago, my sister is a speaker for Christian Women's Club. So she's she's constantly studying and learning, and works with a lot of other religious teachers and speakers. And she had given me an acronym one time for prayer, PRAY, which is praise, repent, acknowledge, and yield. And so praise is the first one. And so that came to mind as I was thinking about what I needed to do to get out of this rut that I was in. And so I started just praising every day, finding things that I could be grateful for. And I just gradually, but really not so gradually. I mean, it seemed at the time like it was gradually, but as I look back at it now, it happened very quickly, that I went from being very sad and very depressed and crying all the time and woe is me and how am I going to do this, and being very angry at God. I was very angry at God because here I had been a faithful servant, and I know that divorce is not what is in God's heart. And yet here I was going through a divorce, and I just didn't understand why. Why is this happening to me? And I suddenly found that I was no longer angry with God, and that I was able to thank Him every day for delivering me from a bad situation, for enforcing me with faith and protecting me from a lot of things that could have gone wrong, for giving me courage and strength to deal with the things that I needed to deal with, for showing me and empowering me that I could actually take care of my home by myself, which I think is something that a lot of single women struggle with, is how am I going to do this all by myself? And bit by bit, He rebuilt me, and He redesigned my life to where today I have no doubt, I have every bit of faith that there isn't anything that I can't take care of with Him beside me. And that His intention for me is to have a life full of hope and abundance. And to me, that is what vibrant living is you live a life that's full of hope and joy and abundance. Which doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of things or a lot of money, but that you are happy where you are, that you have more than you need. Again, maybe not physical things, but that you have more that you need and that you can share that with others. And to me, a vibrant life is something that is lived going out. It radiates out. It isn't something that radiates into us. It's something that radiates out from us. And so as we accept that we are living in abundance, and as we acknowledge the abundance that's coming to us, then we're able to give that vibrancy back out to others.
You know, you mentioned, and you are an author to live in daily, and you know in the Facebook group how so many people have been moved by our work.
Yes.
And realizing, because when we are grateful for anything that we have, the very breath we take, we are opening ourselves up to receive. And when we're receiving, we're also giving back. And I think that is so important for anyone stage of life to be grateful. You know, and something else that you said that was so important is you were delivered from the situation. And sometimes, and I think especially women, we can hold on to a situation and the idea, the ideal, right, that this is supposed to be the thing, the man, the job, the relationship, whatever that thing is, we build it up to where it's very difficult for us to let go and to move on. And realize with your faith, with the gratitude you're creating in your life, that for whatever reason, it was, even though you were taught, you know, divorce wasn't right. That's what we were taught when we were younger. And there are certain situations where it is very approved, right? You went to counseling. You were trying to deal with the situation as you were taught. And at a certain point, and with your faith, you realize, I have done what I could do. And now you have a different direction to go with your life.
Yeah.
What have you now done with your life? I mean, I know some of the things that you have done, but our listeners and our viewers do not. So what are some of the things that are now different for you, and how do you see yourself different?
Well, there's just been so many opportunities that have come my way, especially in the last 2 years. Now, my divorce kind of started, I mean, the actual filing of the divorce was 4 years ago next month. So it took about 1.5 years for me to get my feet under me. So in the last 2 to 2.5 years, the opportunities that have presented themselves to me have just been beyond my wildest dreams. I would have never imagined that I would be part of a book like Live in Gratitude Daily. I would have never imagined that for myself. I would have never imagined that I would be part of a radio show. I would have never imagined that for myself. I became involved, as you know, with essential oils, and through that, I have learned that I have a gift of healing. And that is a gift that comes direct from God, in my opinion. It's Spirit leads me to, Spirit gives me knowledge of things that I have no way of knowing about people when I'm working with them. And I tell people when I work with them, when I'm doing, actually laying hands on them, that all I do is just apply oils and lay hands on them and pray. And the rest is between them and Spirit. And that really is the truth. And sometimes I'll hear Spirit say something and I will say that to them. I have no idea when I say it, whether it's relevant or not. So I say that to just bring the point that through this process, I have learned to trust Spirit. And I have learned to trust that God sent the Holy Spirit to speak to us and to guide us. And that if we will but listen and acknowledge and trust that voice, it's there all the time. And that has been one of the biggest things that has come to me, to just me. And that I'm important enough for Spirit to speak to me. And that if I will trust what Spirit is saying to me, even though it may not make any sense to me, that it will always come out good. And what I figured out is that Spirit was speaking to me for a couple of years before my divorce started, or before my marriage started to unravel. And I was arguing until finally I said, okay, then you've got to show me. And boy, did it. And so through that experience and through working with oils and the teachers and the mentors that I have met in that process, I have grown in my faith and my trust that God is real, God is alive, and that He is speaking to me through Spirit every day. And that if I will but trust and just open my hands and let go of whatever I am worried about, which I don't worry much, if I will just open my hands and let go of all those burdens, that He's going to fill my hands up with so much greater things than I ever imagined. And so I have met some of the most amazing people on this journey, one of them being you. That has led to opportunities and trips and relationships with people that just have filled my heart and filled my life with joy. And that's what living a vibrant life is all about, is having those connections with people that build you up and being able to let go of the relationships and let go of the worries and let go of the burdens that weigh you down. And that's what God calls us to do. Just lay them at His feet, let them go, and He'll give us all this great stuff in life.
You know, it's so important what you said about letting go of the burdens, letting go of the negativity. And it can be very hard. Whether it's a person, it's a situation, it's your environment,
your health.
Yeah, it's very different. And sometimes even part of us, right? We just got to shed. And sometimes it's like shedding the pounds. Shedding things that do not serve us, which are part of our life. And one of the things I want to say is for, first of all, no one would know that you're 60. I mean, we went on a trip together and you were like very, very active. Very let's go and do things, and you scuba, you're a scuba instructor, you are very capable. So really, if I go on a trip, I definitely want you, because you're going to be able to figure out what we need to do if something bad happens, right? But one of the things, and it goes back to the very premise of your show, and I was so excited about your show, and you and I were talking about different topics. So even though I'm not quite to the boomers age, I see so much in my own life as I'm getting older and how much more vibrant I am now than when I was 30. Now when I was 30, and how my life could have been. But we have a journey, right? Whatever my life was before, it needed to be for me to be at this point. But now, even in, my early 50s, it's like I do want that vibrant life. I don't want the boundaries and chains of society that we have been told. And I want to be that 30-year-old, right? I want to be that 5-year-old. I want the excitement. I want the vibrancy. We're not getting older. We're getting better. We're getting wiser. And we're letting go of, if we want to go skydiving on one of our next trips, then you and I could do that.
Not me, but you can, and I'll be on the ground waiting for you. Not that I couldn't do it. I don't want to do it.
I'm not really sure I want to do that either.
Yeah. I have been inspired. My neighbor, I've lived beside this man for 25 years. He will be 100 years old in November, or in May. He, until this year, still mowed his 2.5 acres by himself. When he was 89 years old, he was on scaffolding in August, putting siding on his house. I also have a friend who is 73, I think, and she does yoga every day and even does aerial yoga. And I don't know if you've seen that where, like Pink did, where they get in the cloth things and do all this thing. And so as I've gotten older and my friends have gotten older and my circle has aged, I have noticed that there are certain people who live what I call a vibrant life. And those people are active and they're out there in the world and they have not closed themselves off in their home. They have not sat down in their recliner and spent their day watching soap operas and drama. They are out living a life. And that's what I want. And my neighbor Carl had prostate cancer, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago, and didn't stop him. And he healed from it. He fell and broke his hip during a snowstorm after shoveling snow in his driveway twice, because we got 14 inches, then turned around and got 22 inches of snow. He did it twice by himself. Then he fell off a ladder and broke his hip. Of course, he's over 90 by this time. The doctors told him he would never walk again without a walker, and he said, yes, I will. And, within a couple of months, he was walking 3 to 5 miles a day without a walker, by himself. And he did that every day until this last summer was the first time. And I asked him, I said, Carl, I've noticed you're not out walking. He goes, my family won't let me anymore. He said, they don't think I should. They think I'm too old to be out on the streets by myself. And then he just giggled. So.
And you said that he's 100?
He will be 100 next May.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so in some ways, the power of the mind, right? The power of mind, body, spirit connection, and what we can do when we just don't take that status quo. We don't take no that a disease will do this, an injury will do this. You're old, so don't do those things.
Yeah.
We know people, and I'm one of them. I can, sprain an ankle, break a bone just because I'm clumsy. It has nothing to do with my age, right? There's things that happen no matter how old you are. So we don't want to quit doing things because something might happen.
Well, and I think that's the big thing, fear. Fear comes in. And so fear of the disease, fear of our age, fear of that number. My mother quit doing anything. And I kept saying, Mom, you have got to get out and walk. You've got to get out and walk. Well, she didn't do it. And now she can barely make it from the chair to the kitchen. So she convinced herself that she was incapable. She became afraid of trying because she was afraid she might hurt herself if she did that she might misstep. And so that fear kept her from achieving that. And, I think that's when the Bible talks about that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and divide. To me, that enemy that the Bible talks about is right here. It's our own ego. It's our own mind. It's our own fears that we tell ourselves over and over and over again. Right. And we accept them as reality, and that becomes our reality.
Right.
And so if we shift that reality to a reality of gratefulness and a reality of possibilities, then all of a sudden our world opens up. And I have experienced that personally in the last 2.5 years. My life has broadened and opened up in ways that I would have never imagined. I'm a little girl from western Kansas. Population of my hometown is 1,000 people. I dropped out of school and got married at 16. Went on to finish school, went on to go to college, became an oil and gas landman, made excellent income almost my whole life, more than my husband's made, almost every time, not always, but a lot of the time. I would have never, I didn't even know what a landman was when I was growing up. I would have never picked that as a profession. I didn't even know it existed. But I ended up in a place and was given an opportunity, and I seized the opportunity, and it was a profession that I have loved. It has served me well. I have met wonderful people through that. I've had great mentors. I've had people who have helped me through horrible tragedies because of that business. It's just amazing when we open ourselves up to possibilities. How the possibilities that come in are things that we just never even imagined. Right. We couldn't think of them if we tried.
So let's talk a little bit about your boomer time to vibrant life. What are some topics and tips that you are going to be sharing with your audience?
I hope that we can spend time on a lot of things that affect us, like our health, and things that we can do naturally and easily to improve our health, to stay healthy longer, to stay out of the doctor's office, because once you get in the medical merry-go-round, then things can spiral pretty quickly. And so I think that there's a lot of things that we can do at our age that can keep us vibrant and healthy and alert and living well. So I think those things can be done with nutritional changes, with as far as what you eat and how you eat, and still, I'm not saying diet, but just little shifts. There's little things you can do in your life that can make a big impact. Adding little things like coconut oil and turmeric. Turmeric is such a big, it can make such an impact, especially as we age, because inflammatory diseases are a big part of what older people deal with. Turmeric is a simple thing you can add, that you can cook with, that you can take supplements. I mean, it just has so many benefits. And it's ancient medicine that's proven over and over and over and over again. You can read on PubMed hundreds of articles about it. Right. Little thing. I never even knew what turmeric was.
Right, and I use both of those.
Yeah.
I want to be proactive And again, being in my early 50s, there's some, aches and pains that weren't there when I was 30 and 40.
Yeah.
Taking supplement, natural things that support our health and may put off what we actually need in a prescription. We always want people to go to the doctor when they need a doctor.
Yes.
We can be proactive, and we start understanding what we can be doing now at 50, 60, before we're 70, 80, and 90, then we can continue to have that. We can increase our vibrancy.
Right. And I am not here to prescribe or diagnose or do any of that. However, I do want to supply information that I will and have researched of things, simple things that people can do in their lives that can maybe keep them out of the doctor's office longer, that can keep them healthy and strong longer. I hope to also cover things like, at our age, we're kind of, I don't even know what to call us, but we're at that age where we have parents that may need us to take care of them, and we still have children who need us to take care of them. Now, I'm fortunate that my children I'm past that. But I have friends who still have teenagers that are my age. And they have parents who are in their 80s and 90s. And so they're juggling both of those scenarios. And that can be very stressful. And that can be a time when boomers quit taking care of themselves. And that is the time when they need to take the best care of themselves. And there's things that they can do to alleviate the stress of dealing with aging parents. And also, they can learn how to make it easier on their children as they age. Because if you're taking better care of yourself, then there's going to be less possibility that your children are going to have to take care of you. Like my neighbor, my almost 100 years old, still lives in his own house. So we're going to talk about some of those things, talk about navigating home health care versus hospice versus whatever that might look like in different situations. I'm going to try to bring some experts in that arena. I want to talk about, I just went to a meeting, and I have also read this a couple of other times about especially women get to this age and have little or no retirement. And many times what happens is they, like me, end up divorced. And if there was retirement, most of it goes away. Or their spouse dies prematurely and they are left with limited resources as far as retirement funds. And of course, if you're not 65, 70, you can't draw Social Security if your spouse dies. So a lot of women who have been stay-at-home wives and moms find themselves suddenly without an income source. And so we're going to talk about some things that if you find yourself in that situation, things that you can do, not only work-wise, but also investment-wise. I met a wonderful lady who had some wonderful statistics, which really thrilled me, but also saddened me about the power that women have right now, the revenue that women have right now, and how underserved we are in the financial and investment arenas. And a lot of women, when they're approaching their 60s, if they have been successful women, they may not have done very much investing. They may have left that to the 401k with their company or whatever, and they really have not educated themselves on what they need to do to be sure that they are financially secure as they go into retirement, so that they don't have to work till they're 90, you know. And we see people that do that, but if they are doing that, we hope that they do it because it's a way for them to get out of the house and still be out amongst people and socializing and things like that, not because they have a financial burden. And so we're going to talk about some of that. And we're going to talk about travel and how to travel as you get older, and places to go and tips about traveling. Because, you know, sometimes when you're older, you can kind of be targeted, or people have a perception that they can be targeted. And so a lot of times they won't travel because they're fearful again. And so, I mean, you and I know, I mean, shoot, let's go. I'm ready to go. I'll get on a plane and go anywhere. And one of my friends, I just heard about this, so this is one of the things I'm going to research. But there's a travel organization called Gutsy Women. Gutsy Women Travel. So they actually take women on trips that normally a woman probably wouldn't go without a man. And there are places like Morocco and the Serengeti for a, I just lost my word, safari, for a safari and things like that. So I'm going to look into some travel opportunities and travel advice and things like that for people as they are aging, and how to enjoy that aspect of their life, whether it's just domestically or whether it's overseas.
Right. You know, one of the things that just came to mind is the idea that through your show and connecting with your audience, there could be a trip of people who meet you through your show, and they're your audience, they're your listeners, and you could end up on a trip together. I mean,
oh, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, we're going to build relationships through sharing on our shows, our experiences, you know, our gifts, our talents, our skills. We have relationships with people who tune into us. And like I said, when you were sharing your idea of your show, I was so excited because it sounds fun. It is something that we all need as we get older to have a vibrant life. Our life, I mean, people are living till 90, 100. So let's make it the best of the rest of our lives.
I know, we work our whole lives and then we get to retirement. That's when we get to be kids again. You know, it's supposed to be the time that we get to play,
right?
Not sit down and wither away. Right. It's a time that you get to take your wisdom and your knowledge and share it with others, and to explore the areas that you've always dreamed of exploring. And you have time to study if you want to go back to school and learn something new. Right. If you want to learn to paint or to make pottery, or take that trip and do the culinary tour around Italy, and people so many times think that trips like that are outside of their financial means. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about, is how to travel on a budget.
Right.
Because you don't have to be wealthy. There are ways to do it and not spend a lot of money.
Well, and I also know that you're going to touch on relationships, whether reigniting the one you have, or we're going to talk about dating. And, you know, as we get older, that doesn't mean that sex is over, right?
No. No. Sure. Although our kids are going la 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 la.
I'm sure that will be part of your discussion.
It will.
Vibrant life.
Yes.
You know, emotional,
yes.
mental, spiritual, physical, everything that makes us a human being.
Right.
Make us happy. And that's part of being healthy also. Research is out there showing that.
Yes.
So one of the other things that I wanted to ask about, and this, you have been thinking about this, I know that this is in your future. Is there a book coming out soon, or you're starting to write a book about the very things that you're going to be talking about on your show? Can you
I am co-authoring a book. We're not real sure about the title yet, but it's going to be about along these lines of how to live a vibrant life well into, like you said, 80s, 90s, 100, how to do that physically, spiritually, emotionally. Probably won't have anything about travel or any of that in it, but it will be addressing physical, spiritual, and emotional. And I'm co-authoring that with a friend of mine, Debbie Kaharski, and she is a chiropractor. She's been in practice for 28 years. She is a wonderful teacher, a beautiful spirit-filled woman, and really, really excited about this book. And definitely one of the topics in the book is how to have a good sex life after you're 60 and menopause and andropause has come into play, and the things that you can do physically to make sure that area of your life stays vibrant and active. So.
And I'm sure people will be to make sure that all those tidbits. So I just want to make sure that people listening, seeing this video introduction to you, can find you at your website, which is VickieWashburn.com. Find Vickie on Facebook and YouTube, Vickie Washburn, and also on Global Voice Radio. So find us on Facebook, join us on Global Voice Radio, listen and be inspired by Vickie on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern with a Boomer's Guide for a Vibrant Life. And Vickie, thank you so much for being a host with Global Voice Radio, and I'm so excited what you are going to be doing and sharing with others and inspiring and motivating us to have a vibrant life as long as we live.
Thank you for having me. And one more thing, I do have a new Facebook page just for this group that is called A Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life. And so you can look for that soon. We're still getting that up and running, but I will be posting tips and tricks on there as well. So I'm excited to see.
To everyone and hearing Vickie on Monday, 7 p.m. on Global Voice Radio.
It's good to talk to you, Denise.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
Host of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life. Connect with Vickie at www.globalvoiceradio.com. Tune in next week for another edition of The Boomer's Guide to a Vibrant Life on Global Voice Radio, where your message and your voices are heard.
Rearrange our friendship, yes, I'm sure.